Hey guys, Tyler here. Social justice is social injustice. So the question then becomes, why exactly, Tyler, are you making that affirmation towards the beginning of this video? Now, typically, when people look at the definition of social justice, they'll find something such as this. Social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities. Social workers aim to open the doors of access and opportunities for everyone, particularly those in greatest need. So, based upon that definition, we can actually assume that when people used to talk about social justice in the past, they were talking about movements like the civil rights movement, or another case of social justice would be the issue of women having the right to vote. And so, when we talk about issues of social justice, it seems as though that social justice itself had humble beginnings. That being said, there was actually a recent interview that came out today that had the person that we know as Crystal Mangum. And this is what she had to say about her false accusation on the whole entire issue of Duke Lacrosse.
That night, my Reed Seligman, Colin Bennerty, and Dave Evans, they took me into their home and they trusted. The Bible says that you shouldn't do harm to your neighbor that lives trustingly beside you. And they were my brothers, and they trusted me that I wouldn't betray their trust. And I testified falsely against them by saying that they raped me when they didn't. And that was wrong. And I betrayed the trust of a lot of other people.
Now, the aftermath of the whole entire Duke Lacrosse case is that there has been a series of people making false accusations against men thanks to what actually occurred. Now, many people will say that the argumentation I'm actually using is something that is known as a slippery slope. Now, here's an example of what exactly I mean when I say the phrase slippery slope. Now, most people will say that X would actually lead to Y, and therefore the argument is invalid based upon X reason. However, I have plenty of examples of what exactly I meant when I said that there were actually a series of false accusations against men thanks to the aftermath of things like Duke Lacrosse. The first ever example I have was something that is known as the Rolling Stones rape controversy. Now, basically, as soon as that was actually reported, of course, many news stations across America went out their way to condemn it and actually said stuff like this example.
But the thing, I think the second most painful after the hold its leg for me was this. The three friends launched into a heated discussion about the social price of reporting Jackie's rape. Detached Jackie listened as Cindy prevailed over the group. She's going to be the girl who cried rape and will never be allowed into any frat party again. And here's the thing, they're not wrong. It's, on the one hand, it's appalling. On the other hand, they're not wrong. And that social sanction is a powerful one at 18. And I'm sitting there thinking, these kids are 3 weeks into college. This can't be the first time they've encountered this. Mm-hmm. How far back does this go into high school?
Well, I would say that social sanction is a powerful thing at any age, not just at 18, at any age. True. Before I say anything else, I have to thank you, Sabrina, for writing this. I think you've done a tremendous act of public service, and I'm genuinely very, very grateful.
Thank you.
It is hard to read an article like this and avoid the conclusion that we live in a culture that hates women, just hates us.
However, after such investigation, it seemed as though that the Rolling Stones story that they actually initially reported turned out not to be true in the slightest. This comes directly from the Washington Post. It says right here, The police investigation has cleared a University of Virginia fraternity of any involvement in any alleged gang rape that was detailed in a Rolling Stone magazine story last year, with authorities saying that there is no basis to believe an event occur. After the Rolling Stones article's publication, the Pi Psi house was vandalized, students protested outside the historical property, and the fraternity voluntarily suspended its chapter at the university as police investigated the allegations. We are pleased that the university and the Charlottesville Police Department has cleared our fraternity of any involvement in this case. Another event that was also heavily publicized back then was something that was known as the Mattress Girl case.
Columbia University senior who says she was raped on campus by a fellow student has launched an unusual act of protest. Emma Solkowitz has vowed to carry a dorm room mattress with her everywhere on campus until her rapist is expelled or leaves campus on his own. Solkowitz says she was raped in her own dorm room in August of 2012. That was only the beginning. After she reported her assault to Columbia, she appeared before a disciplinary panel where she was forced to explain to a university official how the painful manner in which she'd been raped was physically possible.
Just like with the case of Rolling Stone, there was no evidence to be found whatsoever of that particular accusation of rape for that mattress girl. Columbia's statement: Paul Nungresser and Columbia University had agreed to settle the lawsuit he filed in 2015. While Paul was a student at Columbia, he was accused of sexual misconduct. In November 2013, after the Dillians and Stroll investigation, Paul was not found responsible for any misconduct. Columbia University stands by that finding. In 2015, Paul graduated from Columbia in good standing as a distinguished John Jay Scholar. John Jay Scholars, like Paul, are recognized for their remarkable academic and personal achievements, dynamicism, intellectual curiosity, and original thinking. Paul is currently enrolled at an internationally recognized film school and has launched a career as a filmmaker. Columbia recognized that after the conclusion of the investigation, Paul's remaining time at Columbia became very difficult for him and not what Columbia would want of its students to experience. There is this one major statistic that continues to be said to this very day by many feminist activists, as well as many politicians, and also lectures for students at college campuses when they're taking sexual harassment courses. It is the idea, the notion, that 1 out of 4 women are victims of sexual assault. That a new campus sexual assault survey from the Association of American Universities find that 23% of female undergraduates say that they have been victims of sexual assault or misconduct. But the new 1 in 4 figure from the AAU survey may mislead viewers, many of whom will interpret sexual assault as rape or other strictly criminal offenses. A closer look at the survey reveals that 11% of female graduates said that they were assaulted in a way that is consistent with criminal definitions of rape or sodomy. Half of these female graduates said that force was involved, while the other half maintained that they were incapacitated by alcohol. The study clashes with data gathered by the Justice Department between 1995 and 2013, which found that college-age women who weren't students are more likely to be raped or sexually assaulted than women who are students. The number of victims was significantly lower than those in other recent surveys, 7.6 of 1,000 non-students in comparison to 6.1 of 1,000 students. AAU researchers acknowledged that their findings could be reflected in an inflated victimization rate at participating school due to non-response bias. In other words, they determined that the hundreds of thousands of students who didn't partake in their electronic survey, only 90% of those asked to take the survey did so, were less likely to have been sexually assaulted. The non-response bias further weakens the self-repeated 1 out of 5 figure, since AAU surveys and others that preceded it are not representative of all college women. The fact that that particular survey actually counted drunk sex as rape tells me everything to know on how exactly the numbers were actually screwed over for that particular survey, yet politicians, as well as training seminars for sexual harassment at college campuses for students, as well as various other aspects of like the activists, continue to say these numbers to this very day. Now look, while it's true that there might be some cases of rape that actually occur in drunk sex, not every single situation of drunk sex is actually evidence of rape. Let me explain. Let's take, for example, the fact that adults have, of course, ways to consent to themselves. And one way to actually consent to other adults about whether or not they want to have sex or not is not always through verbal communications. People give signals, they give signs that they actually want something. And so that means that the person, the man and the woman who is having sex, will probably have already agreed to drink and have sex afterwards before they drink and have sex. So not every single case of drunk sex might be evidence of somehow rape. But also I want to further emphasize that towards the beginning of the video, I stated that, of course, many people make the argumentation that what I said right now with my examples are basically cases of a slippery slope fallacy. However, it's not necessarily a slippery slope fallacy to point out that there are some cases where there's actually a domino effect. Let me explain. Now, with the case of dominoes, there's like one domino that begins to, of course, go down, and everything else goes down with it. So because of the whole entire Duke Lacrosse case, it led to the mattress girl. It led to the 1 in 4 number statistic that we saw. It led towards the ideas that what happened with like Johnny Depp and Amanda Heard. It led to all this sort of nonsense that we basically saw with the case of sexual assault and rape culture discussion in this whole entire country. And because of that reason, and because she actually admitted that what she said was actually fake, all this time, this discourse about rape culture on college campuses, of all these sort of fake accusations, I would say is a key example of something like a witch hunt. And when I'm referring to the idea of a witch hunt, I'm referring to the second definition. That is to say, the searching out and deliberate harassment of those such as political opponents with unpopular views. Social justice, in this particular case, has led to social injustice. Both men and women are now fearing each other because of course, these sort of claims that have been seen throughout the media and also on social media. And many men and women do not want to date each other now because of this sort of divide that many feminists and social justice activists have been saying throughout the years. It is also the fact that many men don't want to go out their way to actually be in a kangaroo court because, again, they don't want to actually have their name tarnished. And also the fact that many women who make these sort of false accusations, they themselves don't actually spend some sort of time behind bars because of this stuff. Now again, with the case of the Duke Lacrosse case, that woman was not actually in prison because of her false accusation. She was actually in prison for murder. And now that we actually know that she did confess that she was the one that actually ruined those poor guys' reputations, I think she should stay there for life. I truly do. I think that the horrendous crime of false accusation should have the same sort of punishment as somebody who actually did in fact rape somebody, because that can actually damage reputations because of false accusations. But what do you guys think about my analysis? Tell me in the comment section down below. And as always, I'll see you guys next video.